I am the greatest.
I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass.
You won't do shit. Just stick and move. And making you understand. Now stick and move. Keep your hands up.
Welcome to a new episode of the Stick and Move podcast. I'm your host, Trey, and today we're talking about the top 5 pound-for-pound boxers as of May 20th, 2024, right after the Usyk versus Tyson Fury bout that just occurred. And before we get to that, let me get down to business. Our podcast hasn't really been posting. Usually we post every Monday and Wednesday. Sam has had some family situations to attend to, and he probably won't be able to come back on the podcast for a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months throughout the summer. He will probably be peppering in a couple of episodes. As for me, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I went for a jog, and point of advice, guys, do not text and jog at the same time. As I was jogging, I wasn't paying attention, and I hit some uneven, newly constructed land in the route that I was running, and I blew my leg out. My leg looked like a pretzel. It looked like a upside down W, which I guess is an M, right?
Ah! 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 Ah!
A lot of painkillers going on, so I'll be careful on that front. But the show must go on, as they say, and I'm going to do my best to keep everything afloat. And what I want to do, guys, I actually want to make this a little bit more interactive. I'm going to start going live with topics that you guys can go ahead and chime in on. We could do that live, and on episodes like this, pre-recorded, I want you guys to give me as many comments as possible. And on the following episode, I'll shout out your comments, and we can have a whole new episode or a whole episode based on what you guys have to say, my opinion, your all's thoughts, and just until Sam gets back into the realm, hopefully everything on his end turns out okay. But so let's get down to the topic at hand. The top 5 pound-for-pound boxers. Now, I felt badly. This injury of mine took place at the worst time. And due to Sam's scenario, we missed a lot of good fights. We went live for the Canelo versus Munguia fight. Sam and I went live for the Garcia-Haney fight. And we wanted to go live for Lomachenko. And we wanted to go live for Tyson Fury. But like I said, my leg is done. So we missed a lot of hot topics that we could have talked about. And I'll be honest with you guys, things have changed. So, all the hot news of Ryan Garcia and steroids. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to give you my top 5 pound for pound. And this might be a little bit controversial, but geez. Well, let me give you my number 5. My number 5, believe it or not, is Devin Haney. Now, I understand a lot of people are like, how can you give it to Devin Haney? He got blown to pieces by Ryan Garcia. And I agree with you. One of our last episodes, Sam and I talked about how Ryan Garcia is currently the new face. We've had multiple episodes on who's going to take the throne from Canelo once he calls it a career. And it kind of looks like Ryan Garcia is going to be it. But the way things are looking is that this steroid sample, this B sample, is going to test positive. Ryan Garcia is already kind of conceding that he knows that it's going to be positive, that he might start his own boxing league. I'm not sure that is an admission of guilt. I kind of think that it is. What Ryan Garcia needs to do has already been established, guys. He needs to take in, even if it's, I think it was 60 times of a billionth of a percentage of him testing positive. I could have said that wrong, but I apologize. even then, what he needs to do is what a lot of other boxing analysts are telling him to do. If you are not guilty, send in every single supplement that you got that you've taken throughout your training preparation through with Devin Haney, especially within that last week, because he was clean all training camp until that last week, the day before that week before, and the fight after, and he needs to send everything in. And if there's some if there's a supplement that he took that's not labeled, that what he was taking, I think that exonerates him, and I would be excited for that. And as far as I know, maybe you guys can help me on the comments. He has not done that. Now, going back to Devin Haney, look, this is a guy who I've always prized as I never had him on my top five. Sam was always the guy I had him number one, or I even think Sam had him number one before his fight with Garcia. And I always saw the logic. Look, to me personally, I've always felt that activity matters most. And he, from the beginning, was calling out the big heads. He fought everybody. He fought Joseph Diaz, wiped him out. He fought a Gamboa that nobody wanted to fight because Gamboa gave Terrence Crawford a fight that current Terrence Crawford wasn't looking for. And Haney wiped the floor with them. I know there's a controversial bout with Lomachenko, and I know Lomachenko looks really good right now, especially after his last win over Cambosos, and but in my opinion, I believe Haney squeaked that one out. I think his punches were a little bit more effective, and I just think that Haney, after that, he wipes the floor with these guys. He pretty much shut out Cambosas 24-0. He shut out Diaz 12-0. Linares. He wiped out Gamboa around, I think that was in 2020. Uh Regis Progreas, I mean, that was a wipeout as well. Pretty much 12-0, 11-1 fight, if you want to be nice. And then he just met his match with Ryan Garcia. Look, guys, I know the O is real precious in boxing, and to me, that's hurting boxing. Nobody wants to fight each other because they don't want to risk the O, which is why I'm giving Usyk and Fury a lot more credit than Fury may or may not deserve, or Usyk may or may not deserve. He risked his O. He had a familiarity with Ryan Garcia. He got pummeled. Now, if this steroid thing comes through and Garcia doesn't turn in his supplements in to prove that it was an accidental steroid thing, then guess what? More than likely, he's going to get a no decision or maybe even get his O restored. I like Haney as my number five. Tell me in the comments if I missed anything. Tell me I'm crazy. Tell me I'm stupid. Tell me I'm a genius. Go ahead and leave it in that comment. I'll bring it up on the following week's episode. But for me, Haney is still number five. Why? Because activity won and he's taking on everybody. He's taking on every boxer that nobody else wants to fight, and he has gone in there. Okay, he gave Gambosas the rematch when he didn't really have to, when he totally schooled him, in my opinion, 12-0. He took Lomachenko. Lomachenko is considered a modern day lightweight boogeyman, and he took him on head on. I have Haney, my number five. I don't care if he has a loss. I don't care if he hits mats. That's part of boxing. Let's get that zero stuff or him going down. Uh, uh, let's get rid of that stigma. He got up and he finished the 12 rounds, and he's even more impressive because if Ryan was knowingly on roids, and the fact that this guy went all 12 rounds, then I got to give it to him. Haney is my number five. Now, look, if that was controversial, and believe me, guys, I've done my research. This is what I thoroughly believe. And my number four might be even more controversial than my number five is Terrence Crawford. Once again, opposite of Haney. If you're only going to fight once a year, I mean, I don't care by how much of a spectacular fashion you win by. If you're only fighting once a year, I cannot I can't put you at number one. I know for like most boxing analysts, from Teddy Atlas to Raphael, all these guys, they mostly have Terrence Crawford number one. I can't do that. I need more activity. I mean, look, he fought Errol Spence July last year. Yes, that was a performance of a lifetime. Virtuoso performance. Knocked him in the middle next week many times throughout that fight. Then the year before, he fights David Vanessian. I mean, that was a schooling, a 6 round KO. He fights Sean Porter 2021. I mean, in the past 3 years, he's only fought 3 times once a year. He fights Kell Brook 2020. He fights Kavalaskis, who got him on the mat. I mean, I know a lot of boxers, a lot of Crawford sycophants will say that it didn't count because the ref did not count. Look, his glove hit the mat. The ref just wasn't paying attention. You know eh, that he got him on the ground. But look, the point I'm saying is that in the past, since 2019, in 5 years, he's only fought one, two, three, four, 5 times in 5 years. You look at Haney, the past 5 years, he's fought one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, 9 times in the past 5 years. Let's pick another guy. Let's pick up Canelo. Well, he fights about 2 to 3 times a year. He's fought one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8, 9, 10 times in the past fight, twice a year. And if Terrence Crawford, I just need more activity, man. I mean, if he could get through this Madrimov guy, I'll give him a lot more credit. I know a lot of people are saying that this is Israel Madrimov guy is a dangerous fighter, and I tend to agree. I think that he is challenging this guy. I think he believes that at 154 he is the lowest risk at 154. And when you're trying to move up to a new division and you want to get that belt quickly, that is what you want to do. But when it comes to Crawford, look, I'm not denying his skill. I am not denying his skill at all. But when it comes to Crawford, I just need more activity than fighting once a year. Take the Canelo schedule now. Canelo fights every Mexican major holiday. Fights Cinco de Mayo, which if you're Mexican, that's not really a major holiday. And then he fights every September, every Mexican New Year in September. Take that route. At least it's more activity. I'm okay with the fact that boxers are not going to fight the way they used to. The last time boxers were active, that I could think of fighting 4 or 5 times a year was in the early '90s when Chavez and those boys would fight 4 or 5 times a year, maybe even more, going earlier than that. So I'm okay with that. I just need more activity. I cannot, out of the top five I have here, is he the most skilled? Maybe, but I just need more activity. I need more from him. And I hope this Madrimov guy, because he should run right through him. I'm hoping that this ring rust does not prevent him does not prevent him from winning. I hope that he puts on a good show, and because this Madrimov guy, he is hungry. He is hungry, and I would not be surprised if this thumper goes in there and puts a good licking on Crawford, which I hope he doesn't, because I would like to see that Crawford Canelo fight, which we'll leave for another episode. All right. My number three, guys, right here is actually Canelo. I have Saul Alvarez. Look, I mean, he's been on a roll here. He is his performance against Jaime Munguia. I went live for that fight, and outside of those first 3 rounds, he was calculating, he was being observant during that time, and he put on a great performance in that 3 quarters of the rest of that fight. And he showed you his defense. He showed you his chin. He showed you how he was calculating. And he took a young buck like Munguia, who is hungry and he looked like a giant in that ring. Took him out, beat him down, uppercut him beautifully to knock him down in that fourth round. First time he has ever gone to the mat. And Canelo just showed the world that, look, I'm still the king of boxing. Now, if you want to argue if he's the king or not, leave that in the comments. I still think he is the king of boxing. He pulled in over 500,000 pay-per-views. Let's not count, guys. A big percent of those are streamed for free. So those numbers are askew. I'm not really sure how that works, but for Canelo, his skill is still there. And he showed his endurance. He did not sit down one time in the corner of that fight in between rounds. I think he is playing a little rope-a-dope with future boxers who want to challenge him. I think he's doing this future thing where boxers are seeing him like, oh, I could take him out. He's slowing down. And I think he's just trying to school people into thinking that come into the ring with me and I'm going to show you that there's levels to this. Now, the elephant in the room, what about Benavidez? Look, nobody wants to see the Benavidez versus Canelo fight more than me. In my opinion, I think Benavidez is too flat-footed. I hate the fact that Benavidez, for the most part, always has his feet even versus an angular form, like the way you're taught. Maybe Benavidez has gotten better at that. He did get a little bit better on that in his last two fights, but for the most part, I think his style is meant for him. If Benavidez does have a chance against Canelo, it's simply weight. It's already known that Benavidez weighs over 200 pounds on fight night. How do you know how that's possible? But as far as skill, I think Canelo would take out Benavidez. I don't know. Does Canelo need Benavidez? Look, I'm going to say this, and I was talking to Sam about this the other day behind the camera. If Canelo can sleep at night, knowing that everybody wants Benavidez, if he's okay sleeping at night and he doesn't really care, then it's not going to happen, guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it doesn't bother him, if he's okay with his legacy and his record, not having a Benavidez fight, win, lose, or draw against him, then he's not going to rush into this. Who knows? Who knows? I just think that for Canelo, I think he needs this on his resume. But if he's okay, he can move on. He's having a good time. He has a great young family. He has, daughters and everything like that. He looks like he's enjoying them. He has a second hobby in golf. It just looks like the early part of his career when he was trying to prove himself and fight guys and most boxers would have taken their time against to go up and fight, or actually go down in weight and fight Mayweather, and then jump up to fight his fellow countrymen and beloved Cesar Chavez Jr., and then fight the boogeyman and Triple G all three times because people were pressuring him. I think he sees the big picture, and I think there is facts to what he's saying that nobody's ever going to be satisfied. Look at what's going on with Crawford, right? He is right. If he beats him, he's too big. If he loses, he lost to a little guy. He was never a great boxer to begin with. Guys, please leave in the comments. Is that true or not? If you are a true Crawford fan and Canelo fights Crawford and Crawford schools him like the way he did Errol Spence. Now he won't knock down Canelo, right? Um, but let's say he just you know fights the perfect fight against Canelo and just wins the fight 9-3, 10-2, 11-1, just a schooling. Are you guys going to say Canelo was never great to begin with? Or if Canelo does weight bully him and pounds him into the corner, puts him on the mat, because if Gamboa got him almost got him to the ground, and the Mean Machine got him on the ground, then I'm pretty sure Canelo's going to get him on the ground. Um, then are we going to say, well, Canelo is fighting a smaller guy? Let's just be honest, guys. Let's be honest. If you're a Crawford fan, tell me which one it's going to be. If you're a Canelo fan, does he really need Crawford? Does he need, to me, I think it weighs more on his record if he doesn't fight Benavidez versus if he doesn't fight Crawford. He does not need Crawford. Is that a money buy? Is the Turk gonna give him supposedly he already offered him, supposedly, and Canelo's just like, nah, I'm okay with that. You know? I think Canelo needs more Benavidez, but at the same time, Look, Benavidez is going to 175. I mean, from 175 to come back down to 168, that's a lot. That's a lot. And let's be honest, looking at Benavidez's career, he's always struggled with going to with weight. You know, that's one of the reasons why he was never really a mandatory the past couple of years against Canelo. So Canelo is my number three. I went a little bit further than I wanted to. Uh, but Canelo is my number three. Give me your thoughts on the comments, guys. Okay. My number two is Inoue. Now, I loved Inoue's fight against Luis Neri. Look, Luis Neri, I stayed up to try to get into that fight, and I had to go to work the next day. For those that don't know, I'm a history teacher, high school world history teacher, AP, by the way. And so I was up watching the fight and went straight to work. So I was committing to the sport for you guys. And look, Luis Neri, man, he is a dangerous fighter, reckless. He's that old school Mexican type boxer, always headhunting, using his speed, whipping that hook as much as possible. And he caught in a way. He caught him. But what I loved about Inoue is that he got back up and he took him out and knocked him out in that 6 round TKO. It was a beautiful display after that knockdown where he was like, okay, this is where this is the fight I'm gonna get into. This is what boxers crave. Going back to Canelo, the reason why I love that Munguia fight against Canelo was because Munguia was an old school boxer, that old school Mexican Salvador Sanchez style, early on Julio Cesar Chavez style, where they hunt him 24/7. And Canelo and Munguia and Canelo, even Munguia in his loss, came out victorious. It was a win-win for him. Luis Neri and for Inoue, it resembled that style. And look, Nayoa, in a way, he is just too skillful. I actually love the fact that he went down because he tasted that mat and he's going to make him even more of a boogeyman. And guys, look, I know we want the Tank Davis fight, but guys, he came up for what was it, 108, if I'm not mistaken, to 120? I mean, let the guy go up at his own pace. Not everybody is Manny Pacquiao. Okay. And look, everybody's saying that for in a way that if he wants to become the face of boxing, he needs to come to America. I honestly don't think he cares. I don't think he needs it. This guy he is up there with Shohei Otani as the face of Japan sports, if not number one. Guys, I hate to break it to you, but yes, America is the backbone of boxing. But let's just be honest here. Boxing has been struggling. And where boxing is thriving right now is in Japan. And their three-head, I mean, and Godzilla over there is in a way, and he is doing fine. He is doing fine. If you want to fight him, you got to go meet him. Okay, in Japan. He doesn't need Tank Davis. Look, everybody's moving up from 135. All that Tank Davis has left, maybe in that division, is Shakur, which nobody wants to fight. Shakur's another boxer who I loved. We did an episode a couple of months back on the top current lightweights, and I had Shakur my favorite. But if Shakur, like Terrence Crawford, is not going to fight, and he's only going to fight on a Wednesday or Thursday night because there's other main events happening, which is an insult to boxing, then I could see why Tank wants to avoid, doesn't want to fight the guy. And let's be honest, Tank has Floyd Mayweather issues, but that's a conversation for another day. There is Pitbull out there. There's a lot of people that believe Pitbull won the fight. Sam and I, we have an earlier episode where we rewatched the episode and scored it, and we both had Pitbull winning. I think I had Tank as a one win, one by one round. I could be wrong on that. But look, Tank Davis, and in a way, I honestly think Tank needs it more than him. In a way, take your time, brother. Take your time. Your skill is nowhere in doubt. Nobody doubts your skill. He is, to me, him and Crawford are the two most skillful boxers in this top five, and I think their futures are bright. Well, more so in a way than Crawford. Crawford's already 36, only fighting once a year. So that's where I'm going to leave it. I have, in a way, my number two. And obviously, my number one is Usyk. And look, as far as Usyk, what I love, what I saw from Alexander Usyk is the fact that he's reminding me of a modern day Evander Holyfield. They have the same similar history where they both dominated cruiserweight going into heavyweight. Am I saying he is better than a Holyfield? Hell no. But I will say this: what Usyk has done, he has fought the main guys. He fought Daniel Dubois, won by KO in the ninth round. Y'all saw what he did to Tyson Fury. He gave Anthony Joshua, went the distance with him twice. Um, I mean, and I know Anthony Joshua has had a complicated history. He fought Chisora, he fought Chaz Witherspoon, Tony Bello. I mean, look, is the heavyweight division what it was in the 90s or in the or yeah, maybe it is in the 80s or in the 70s? Hell no, not even in the 50s. Um, but look, he's paying his dues. He's fighting the fights that everybody wants him to do. He's challenging everybody. He got in a ring with Tyson Fury. Now, look, I'm going to be the one to say this. Fury has not been the same since he fought Wilder. Okay? Um, there's something about Fury that gets me a little bit upset. Yes, does he have height, but when it comes to the heavyweight division, we've seen height doesn't really matter all that much. And let's be honest, Usyk is not a small guy. He is actually the same height and weight, if I'm not mistaken, as George Foreman and Muhammad Ali. So, it's Usyk is not a little man by any means. He just fought a fellow giant. But for Fury, I just think he doesn't take it seriously. I think he takes his giant size as a crutch, and I think it hurts him. And he uses that as an excuse to take things lightly. But for Usyk, what he did in that fight, and I'll be honest, I had it 5-2 going into that eighth and ninth round, where Usyk pretty much pitched a shutout the rest of the fight. I love how Usyk never slowed down. There were times where Tyson Fury did hurt Usyk in that 5-0 split that I had him in those middle rounds where Fury was looking like he was just going to pitch a shutout. But Usyk, he just kept on coming. He had that heart. He showed that relentlessness. And for that, I had to have Usyk. He fought the big names. He fought Joshua twice. He fought Fury. And this guy, he is just showing the world that he is ready for all comers. He came from the other division on up. And to be honest with you, maybe it's his southpaw style that's a little bit complex for most boxers to understand. But look, for him to come up in the past 5-6 years from cruiserweight to now becoming heavyweight champion, undisputed as heavyweight, we haven't had that since Lennox Lewis in 98, 99, if I'm not mistaken. I cannot help but have Usyk as my number one. Okay, so we'll leave it at that, guys. The guys I considered as well was Beterbiev and Bivol, but their inactivity as well, I had to keep them off. I liked Haney's resume a little bit better. Even though Haney's coming off a dramatic loss, I have on my number 5 over that. Go ahead and leave comments, guys. Tell me what you all think of my top 5. Give me your top 5, and I'll blur you, and I'll mention you guys on the upcoming episode, on the top of our new episode coming up next week. Hopefully, Sam could join us then. But if not, you guys will see me again. And as I always like to say, don't forget to stick and move, baby.
I am the greatest.
I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass.
You won't do shit.